This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Monday, December 6th, 2021 meeting of the Monterey Select Board here in downtown Monterey at the Town Hall. I'm Stephen Weiss, the chair.
Justin Maycock, present.
And Mr. Weingold is day three of his boycott, so we'll just continue without him. So the first item on the agenda is the Town Charter Committee. When we left off last week, I think there was, and Justin, correct me if I'm wrong, the discussion was that that you felt that you and actually other folks felt that the political atmosphere or the atmosphere in general was a little heated to really and that there's a possibility that this particular committee is being part and parcel.
Yeah, so I think what I expressed last meeting, but I'll summarize again, and a couple members of the public shared their own similar views, but speaking just for myself in this instance. Yes, the political atmosphere at this moment in town is very divided and intense. And I don't think it would make a good environment for a committee designed to take a far-minded, long-term look and open-minded, thorough look at whether a charter is appropriate for Monterey government. I think that kind of endeavor is an endeavor that can't be focused on the here and now. And I think given our current environment, it may be, it might not be a good environment. Because a charter is something that would basically, guide Monterey's government for indefinitely going forward. And it would be a really long-term decision. And I feel like right now is not a good environment for that, so.
Okay, so I know I had mentioned that I had some misgivings, because this is something that was voted in at town meeting. And what I guess I also did, what I didn't express was, I thought that the atmosphere, since we're getting close to this investigation, I had calmed down a little bit. But I tell you that I just received this morning an email. I think you received the same email. I'm not going to mention from who, but I found it so full of vitriol that I see that you're right. I see that this there is an atmosphere here that is very charged, and and it really shook me. So I'm gonna have to say to you, Justin, that I actually agree with you. What I would move to do is that we table the discussion of the charter committee and the empanelment of the charter committee until until the minimum after this investigation, excuse me, and see and take the temperature of the town after that. But I'm forced to agree with you here. So so I would make a motion that we at least table this until after the investigation is concluded,
Second.
and then we revisit it. Okay.
Second.
Okay. So a second. Vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So move on. Posting YouTube videos. So I finally got a return call from the Actors Union. They did mention that there is a document that, that the town should sign, and they're going to be providing me with that document. So, I'll make it available to the board members and to Melissa, and we'll put that on for the next meeting. Okay. New business. Town administrator items, there are none. Number 2, investigation update, sign the engagement letter. So, okay, so, I read the letter. I also read some comments about the letter. My only, my personal only, and by the way, so just for people getting a timeline over here, because I did go back into my emails, just so people understand what happened. We received the engagement letter on Tuesday before the meeting, before our Wednesday meeting. I sent it out that very day on Tuesday, to the attorney, and he responded also on that day. So it was not within the 48 hours to actually make the document available. But now that the document is available, and I know that Justin, you had some comments to it. My only comment was, in the third paragraph, it says, about 4 lines down, it says, I will provide you with a written report if requested. I believe that's part of what we want, of the written report.
So should we ask for the deletion of if requested?
Yes. Now, what about yours? Because,
So I had 3 requested changes.
okay,
One was to add, Green and Hafer LLC shall contact the town to authorize expenses in excess of $10,000 for the entire project. I know that we went over the money situation with her, but, and that we've agreed that money should not be a limiting factor in this case, but I think it would be prudent, spending taxpayer money to at least be notified and discuss if we were to exceed the appropriated funds.
so maybe it should be, if Green and Hafer, determine that, that their buildings are going to cross the $10,000 threshold, that they notify the select board immediately.
Mhm.
Something like that.
Yeah, so,
Again, we're not assuming that it's going to,
yeah,
but
No,
we
but
just
you
have
got,
to
you
have,
gotta cover that,
we
that's
have
all.
to have a stopgap.
so do you think Green and Hafer shall contact the town to authorize expenses in excess of $10,000 for the entire project is to?
No, actually, that's fine, that's fine, you basically, that's fine.
So that was one change,
Okay.
and if it makes sense for you, I could email this all to her with everyone included.
And then have them send us
It's to have them send a new one, if that makes sense.
Well, so again, well, let's go through the rest of them, and then we'll have a discussion of it.
Let me add, so your first comment was in the third paragraph.
So it's almost like, so to get this thing, and tell me if this is okay with you, to get this thing rolling, which I think is what we're all here for, is, perhaps these requests should be on a separate piece of paper, and made part of this agreement, but in other words, we're saying, we're gonna accept this, but we also want you to accept this this addendum.
Mhm.
Because if they have to rewrite it, and then resubmit it to us, then we have to have another meeting.
Yeah, I recognize that, and I think time is very much of the essence.
Right.
But I also think that the term should be very clearly laid out, and if we, and these requests are mostly pretty straightforward, just to clarify, I think what was already kind of part of what we talked to her about. I think hopefully we could meet later this week, like Thursday.
Well, we'd have to we have to schedule it.
Yeah.
Exactly, because you can't have an emergency.
No,
meeting.
so I mean, I would actually I would propose that we email these requested changes this evening while still in open meeting, and then schedule a meeting maybe like Thursday, afternoon or something, because that's as reasonably as close as we can get with the 48 hours, with a very simple agenda of assuming that, of dealing with these changes.
Yeah, that works, that works for me, yes,
I
ma'am.
would just tell them that you're scheduling a meeting,
Exactly,
you have a meeting scheduled to take care of this on Thursday, so they know they have to get it in to you before then.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
And that, just a little aside.
Can we do it in the morning, or, I mean, like 10:30 or something like this, or,
I was gonna say, so Thursday,
let's look at Thursday, yeah. It's gonna be a very short meeting.
if you could do noon, anywhere between noon and 2,
I
is
could do-
open, because the Thursday is the HR interviews, and then after that is the budget
That's very
meetings.
important.
I was gonna stand for budget meetings, so, noon, I mean, I can do noon.
Noon?
So, but to continue on with the changes, so we agreed on delete if requested, regarding the written report. We agreed on the contact town in excess of 10,000. Then I wanted to be clear, and I think we were all kind of clear about this, but we didn't want individual people reaching out, and so I just wrote, all communications between Green and Hafer LLC and the town shall be directed to all members of the Monterey Select Board, Steve Weiss, John Weingold, Justin Maycock. All communications between Green and Hafer LLC and the town shall be conducted at a select board meeting or via email. Emails should be directed to the addresses of all members of the select board, Steve at montereyma.gov, John W. at montereyma.gov, Justin at montereyma.gov. If physical hard copies of documents are absolutely necessary, copies of the documents shall be distributed to all board members within 48 hours of receipt by the chair. No member of the select board shall converse with Green and Hafer LLC via phone conversation or otherwise without the prior approval of the select board. Scheduling and conducting individual interviews with the select board members and supplying contact information for individuals to be interviewed are exempt from this requirement. Obviously, it lays out things that are somewhat, I think common sense. If you want an independent investigation, you don't want any individual select board member reaching out on his own. But I would just like to make it very clear, that way there's no, I would like to make it clear at the outset, that way there's no misgivings later on.
Right, the only thing that I would modify is, because they're going to be, contacting each one of us individually as we are named. So that, it's not just these, so at that point, those particular individuals should be able to exchange, information with this organization without copying off them.
Yeah, I figured scheduling and conducting individual interviews with the select board members and supplying contact information for the individuals to be interviewed are exempt from this requirement.
So it's not just contact information, it would be contact information and documentation.
Supplying documents
Right.
relevant
To their
to
individual,
to individual interviews.
individual interview, yeah.
And supplying are exempt from this requirement. And I also, I wrote at the beginning of the email that I gave to you, we would like to see the following additions or similar phrasing that achieves the same goals. So if they're aware of, a better way to write
Of course,
this, then I would like that to happen.
Right.
And then I just said, please include 3 signature lines at the end of the document, 1 for each member of the select board, which sometimes we have, sometimes we don't. We look forward to receiving an updated engagement letter reflecting these items. If you have any questions, please reach out to the Monterey Select Board. The email address is listed above. Sincerely, the Monterey Select Board. And we should probably add in that paragraph about meeting on Thursday, right?
We look forward to modifications. We plan to address the engagement letter and the modifications requested herein for our meeting on Thursday, what's that?
The 9th.
The 9th
At
at noon, by noon. If you have any concerns, questions, please contact the chair.
And addressing engagement letter and requested changes this Thursday,
When I say Thursday by 10 a.m.
this Thursday, the 9th at 10 a.m.
By 10 a.m.
Yeah.
So this way.
Yeah.
We know there's a, yeah, okay, yes, there are hands up. Before I address the audience over here, I also wanted to state for the record, that, I did reach out to town council about, because it was brought up, can board members sign this engagement letter since they are named in the investigation? I did receive an email back from town council saying, yes, they can. It's not a problem. So we did get clearance to sign the contract. All right, who has their hand up? Yes, Paula. Oh, wait.
Do this to me. Hi, I just had a quick question. I agree with all of the changes. I'm just wondering whether there can possibly be a heads up sooner than the 10,000 is approached, or maybe once the investigator has some idea of the parameters of the investigation, whether an estimate can be made at that time. It just seems like at the point of 10,000, it's going to be obviously too late to say no to continuing with anything. I'm just wondering if there can be some interim notification to the board of how much money is being spent at any, I don't know, predetermined time. Just a question.
Right, I don't know how you would put a mechanism like that in place. Yeah, I don't know how you put a mechanism in place. Too bad there's not a taxi meter for attorneys. But, I'm going under the assumption that they're not gonna actually reach that threshold. Boy, I hope not. But, maybe around that language, the $10,000.
You want me to read it again?
Yeah, why don't you read it again?
Green and Hafer LLC shall contact the town to authorize expenses in excess of $10,000 for the entire project.
We want to put, like, you were further directed to let us, to inform the town if you feel that, your activities will exceed.
You would need
that
to.
amount.
if you feel you're gonna need to exceed.
If you feel that your activities are going to exceed that threshold, even prior to reaching it, or prior to reaching it. I mean, again, it's a little, it's difficult. Okay, so, let's have Nancy Tomasovich.
Hi, guys. Well, I mean, there are attorneys, so they're probably tracking their hours, correct? So when they, have $1,000 left, they should let you know, I think I'm gonna have this many more hours. And you guys, you'll have to make a determination then. But if they're attorneys, they're tracking every 6 minutes is what they should basically be doing. Some attorneys do every 15. Does that make sense?
We can have them notify us when they reach the $9,000 threshold. So
And then
that
at
we
that
can-
point, yeah, at that point, they can also say, hey, I still have this much more to do to complete. I may need another 10 hours, 15 hours based upon their hourly rate. And what is their final hourly rate?
Two rates, actually. It's, the main attorney is $3.50 an hour, and the other attorney is $2.50 an hour.
And actually 3 rates,
Oh,
because
sorry.
100 for law. clerks
100
and
for a law
paralegals.
clerk.
Okay, so maybe if you average it out, you have about 30 hours maybe at the most. So you have about 30 hours. So once they start hitting about 20 hours into it, they should let you guys know, hey, we're gonna fast approach using this up, just like, every lawyer says, hey, this is your retainer, you used it up, send me more, or I'm not continuing. That's all I have to say. Thanks, guys.
Green and Hafer LLC shall contact the town when the project total has reached $8,000.
Okay, but why don't you tell the reason why? So that the town may estimate, the cost for remaining services.
So that
The town may prepare,
or may.
yeah, they prepare.
And if they can foresee what, that at this point, we've only gotten this deep and we can see,
Yeah.
a bunch more.
Yeah, that's good. That's a big enough threshold so that there's time to meet, to get all their billing statements and to make some decisions. Okay, good. This is good.
Yes,
Don?
I can't tell from your discussion whether both of you have read the detailed email I sent to you explaining why hiring this firm as an investigator would be unwise. Would you let me know, have you both read it?
I have read it down.
I think you make some very good
David, have
points.
you read it?
I have read it.
Thank you. I'm not going to take the public's time to repeat what I said, but I do want to note that I really strongly believe that if you're going to investigate, that there's no reason to pay $350 or $200 an hour to attorneys who, in their letter of engagement, tell you they're not going to give you any legal opinions, but are simply going to investigate. You're paying legal fees, rates for pure investigation that you could get for $125 an hour. Doesn't make any sense to me. Thank you.
Okay.
So should I read through again? That way we can agree on
Sure.
the final email before it's sent. Dear Corinne, the select board has reviewed the proposed engagement letter and has a few requests for changes. We would like to see the following additions or similar phrasing that achieves the same goals. In the third paragraph, at the conclusion, I will provide you with a written report if requested. Please delete if requested. Green and Hafer LLC shall contact the town to authorize expenses in excess of $10,000 for the entire project. Green and Hafer LLC shall notify the town when the project total has reached $8,000 so that the town may prepare for additional costs. All communications between Green and Hafer LLC and the town shall be directed to all members of the Monterey Select Board, Steve Weiss, John Weingold, Justin Maycook. All communications between Green and Hafer LLC and the town shall be conducted at a select board meeting or via email. Emails shall be directed to the addresses of all members of the select board, steve@montereyma.gov, John W@montereyma.gov, Justin@montereyma.gov. If physical hard copies of documents are absolutely necessary, copies of the documents shall be distributed to all board members within 48 hours of receipt by the chair. No member of the select board shall converse with Green and Hafer LLC via phone conversation or otherwise without the prior approval of the select board. Scheduling and conducting individual interviews with the select board members, supplying documents relevant to individuals' interviews, and supplying contact information for individuals to be interviewed are exempt from this requirement. Please include 3 signature lines at the end of the document, 1 for each member of the select board. We look forward to receiving an updated engagement letter reflecting these items. Please send a response by Thursday the 9th by 10 a.m. as we are meeting again to discuss the engagement letter on Thursday at noon. If you have any questions, please reach out to the Monterey Select Board at the email addresses listed above. Sincerely, Monterey Select Board.
Fine.
Good.
That sounds good. So, you make a motion to, send that to Green and Hafer?
Second.
Okay, I made a motion.
Oh, sorry. That's right. You said.
I said, are you going to make a motion?
I will make a motion to send the letter as written to Corinne via email.
Okay, so I second it. I vote yes.
Yes.
Good, great. Okay, so item number 3, I did notify, so I don't think you got a copy of the minutes for 12/1, because I didn't get a copy just until now.
My apologies.
And that's okay, that's all right, it happens, so unless you want to read through them now, I would make a motion to table this until our next meeting.
What do you think? Because I would be okay to sit here for 5 minutes and read them, but we can also take them. Either way.
They are extensive, why don't we just sit with it and just go through it the next meeting, okay? Besides, I don't want to take too much time away from the newest open meeting law complaint against me. Yes, so yes.
The weekly thing.
So, okay, everybody. So I received an open meeting law complaint, approximately 2 days after I filed one, from John Weingold. And it's specifically against me. And so I'll read it into the minutes.
But always against the board as well, right?
Well, yeah, it's always against the board. And actually, if you hear it, it seems to be against the board as well, but anyway. Okay, description of the alleged violation. Publicly posted agendas dated 11/4/21 and 11/17/21 were intentionally misleading / deceptive / vague / inaccurate. The agendas pertain postings said, quote, discuss entering executive session as per Mass General Law C-30A Section 21A1 to hear complaints or charges brought against a public official, end quote. The posting did not include employees, quote unquote, nor officials versus official. The true subject / topic of the meeting was not mentioned mentioned in the public postings. 2 days, 2 and 2 parentheses days before the meeting, the SB chair, Mr. Weiss, served by police. The letters dated 11/2/21 and 11/15/21 that are attached in Exhibit A. These two letters from Weiss clearly state the sole purpose, in parentheses, of the session, in parentheses, was to discuss the scope of the investigation services, ... There will be no discussion of individual complaints and no votes taken on any matters other than discussion and draft of a scope of investigative services, end quote. Then there's a new quote, scope of investigative services, end quote, is not what was in the public postings. Public only read, quote, to hear complaints, end quote. This sole topic, quote, scope, end quote, in the letters was not posted to the public and violates the OML requirements on proper public postings. The chair had knowledge of the topics of discussion without informing the public in his postings. Section 21A-1 or 1 indicates the scope, qualifications, and retaining / hiring an investigator should be done in open session, not an executive session. The chair Weiss insisted on executive session in his letters by saying, quote, the board of selectmen will be convening an executive session, end quote, ... end quote. These two letters served on the other two SB members also violate the OML as Weiss distributed his opinions on the executive session to a quorum of the SB before any vote was taken. Okay. Now, what action do you want the public body taken in response to the complaint? Mr. Weingold writes, I have no idea what can be done to correct this continued lack of candor to the public or to his fellow SB members. Action, Weiss should disclose any written legal obligations from town council to the chair, parentheses, as was mentioned on 11/4/21, concerning the legality of these agenda postings and letters. An explanation of why the posting and letters topics are different. Evidence that Weiss served his letter upon himself. Why are both letters to the SB done in private and not at an open meeting? So we'll definitely answer this. I think that the interesting thing is that Mr. Weingold does mention that I did mention that all this was vetted by town council. So it sounds like this problem is really with town council, not with me. However, that's what we got here. So stay tuned. I will put together a formal answer, including copies of the emails between town council and myself, where I asked them, is this the way we should do it? And they said yes. Okay. Massachusetts, number 5, Massachusetts Municipal Association Annual Meeting Trade Show.
So we got some emails from the MMA, and for people that Massachusetts Municipal Association is hosting their annual meeting in Boston in January 21st and 22nd. And I was seeking permission from the board to attend and potentially for the board, if we have the funds, which sounds like we do, to pay for the $195 registration fee. And I would go. I would be interested in attending if.
So I believe every select board member should go at least once to it. I did go. I don't think it's kind of paid for me, but that's okay. And it is interesting. And so I would certainly recommend, and I guess it's going to be done, at the convention center. I would take extra precautions since conventions seem to be super spreader events, even for those who are vaccinated. So I But yes, I would, I think it's a good idea, Justin, that you do go to one of these things. Again, I would personally recommend that you don't do it during COVID, but that's entirely up to you. They do them every year, bless you. They do them every year. And, we'll see what happens with this so much business.
Yeah.
Um,
And so the one question I had is, what, should I just pay for it and then get reimbursed? If for the registration fee, if we have the money to reimburse it?
Is it too late to send the registration in now? Is the deadline already passed, or?
I don't think so. We
Okay, so
just,
if you fill out the form and give it to me before Thursday, I can submit it to get a check to mail in. That'll
okay,
be the cleanest way.
And we'll pay through select board expenses?
Yeah.
okay, so I should,
Fill out the form and bring it in to me so I can submit it to get a check and to mail it in for you.
okay. So when it goes to payment, I should just say payment check mail in.
Good.
Should we officially motion? and
Oh, so
vote
I
that
think,
one?
so I will make a motion to have the select board pay the registration fee for the MMA meeting so that Justin May Cook may attend.
Yeah, and so that's awkward, because obviously it has a financial impact on me.
No, it doesn't, because.
But I guess otherwise
Because.
The rule of necessity, I
yeah.
think, would apply
Yeah,
here since.
so
you don't have-
I'll second the motion.
Rule of necessity. Listen, you're gonna get an open meeting law complaint filed against you anyway, so. Might as well, get some
Keep it
education
fair.
out of it. Okay, so your second, I vote yes.
Yes.
Yes, and I feel comfortable with us having this, vote, so please feel free to quote me out there. But again, let's watch the numbers, because if these conventions, if things get worse, I would really recommend that you put it off for 1 year. It's not worth, definitely not worth your health. Okay, review mail, any correspondence to be sent or signed, anything out there?
Nope.
No.
I do have one question. Did the Board of Health meet this afternoon?
They did, but since I didn't have time to put it on the agenda, I'll put it on for when you meet Thursday and you
Okay.
can appoint.
So they did find someone that liked it?
Yes.
Okay.
Any comments or questions from the public? No? Nothing? Okay, then I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I vote yes. Thank you, everybody.